Hello, viewers. Tim Paul here with the Huddle. Pleasure to welcome Jacob Lanning, Head of Commercial Strategy and Operations Casino Systems at IGT. Jacob, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited for our conversation today.
Likewise, I understand there's a new product you wanna talk us through. In fact, actually, perhaps you could introduce us to tell the viewers everything they need to know. I'm sure you can tell the story better than me, and then I'll ask you about it.
Sure, sure. And just to set a little context for me, I've been lucky to be in the gaming industry for the better part of 25 years, and a lot of my time I actually spent as an operator, and I think that really has informed what the product is that we're going to talk about today. We've been trying for quite some time as an industry to sort of do um, things differently with players on casino floors in real time. And one of the struggles that we've had as an industry has always been our ability to get data in real time and then process it and really take action on it. So, as AI has begun to develop in our industry, uh, we really saw a strong opportunity for us to build something that the casino industry has been looking for quite some time, and that really is what the TrueAim product is. We're very excited about it. Essentially, what TrueAim is a AI adaptable layer that we layer on top of our casino management solution, Advantage X, that allows us to enable the operator to make all sorts of real-time decisions on the casino floor in real time. They don't have to wait until after a player's left the building. So very excited about what this will do for the industry and for our casino partners.
Absolutely. It's an exciting kind of move forward. On the online side of the industry, AI is heavily involved in this. There's been a lot of advancement. It's very interesting to talk about how that can apply, as you say, on the casino floor and real-time data. With this launch and IGT's overall approach, how is this kind of thing helping you meet the modern needs of operators?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. The online industry has one big benefit that the land-based casino industry has not for a long time, right? I mean, essentially, you have the entire sort of data experience. You see every spin of the player. You see when they win, when they lose. You see the games that they're switching between. You actually have all of this intelligence, all of this telemetry around that gaming experience by the nature of the product that you're selling. And in the casino industry, in the land-based casino industry, we really haven't had that. Much of the data that's produced by the systems, the legacy systems that support the industry, was all session-based. A player puts their card in, and then they pull their out, or there's hourly meter snapshots that are run for accounting purposes to say how much that slot machine might have won or lost. So the systems were all purpose-built around loyalty, around accounting, around facilitation of payments, like with the ticketing solutions. They were never built to really market to the player in real time. And so one of the things that we've done at IGT is we built this platform we call Advantage X. It's the modernized version of our system. And very importantly, one of the foundational elements that we built into that system was the ability to deliver spin level data. So every time a player pushes a bet button, every time an outcome happens, we now are starting to get onto parity with that online gaming experience. And that data is one of the key infrastructural elements that the operators would need in order for us to start doing some of the things that have been going on in online gaming for quite some time. And if you think about the types of business problems you can solve when you have that type of real-time data, again, they've been doing it in the online industry for a while. So for example, hey, is a player about to leave because they just had a really bad experience? They bet 15 times in a row and it was a losing spin every single time. In the online gaming space, you can recognize that, see that pattern, intercept that behavior, and make sure you don't lose that customer permanently. But in the land-based gaming space, we've never had the technology in order to support that. And so, with this introduction of Advantage X, we now have the foundational component that we can start building on top of to be able to deliver those types of experiences that really create the best uh, um, ecosystem for both operators and players to react to those things that are happening in real time.
Really interesting. I was. You've touched on my next question quite well. I was going to ask about perhaps any use cases in terms of things that you perhaps couldn't do before. And you mentioned broadly what you're able to do as a result of this. Is it a case of, as you say, a player who might be about to switch off, they can be presented with something that keeps them engaged? I'm sure there's responsible gaming angles to this as
Mhm.
well. As you mentioned, in the land-based sector, it's quite. I'm not. Well, maybe you can tell me whether breakthrough is the right word or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think as you think about our very first use case, right? What we tried to focus on was a technology that we actually developed a long time ago. So I'm going to tell you a bit of a bit of a story because I think it'll
Yeah.
help set some context. As an operator, I was fortunate enough to open a property called Aria on the Las Vegas Strip, and when we were going to open Aria, it was at the advent of sort of server-based gaming, and I worked with IGT at the time to build this technology called Point Pursuit. What Point Pursuit is it takes and it automates uh, uh, a tactic that casinos have been using for quite some time with their casino hosts. It is essentially is a marketing program where it goes to different players and it says, "Hey, over this last period of time, you played X number of points. If you play Y period number of points, I'll give you an extra bonus." Right? It's trying to consolidate their play from multiple properties into a single property. And so for Aria's opening, we built a technology called Point Pursuit with IGT. And effectively what it did is it automated it. So it allowed us to go from really only being able to address the high end of the market, right? Because if you think about the manual processes that go into determining how much the player needs to play, what the play up is, what the value you should incent them with, and then communicate that to them, takes a lot for a casino host to be able to do that, and there's only so many hosted players. So at Aria's opening, we built the foundational technology called Point Pursuit that ultimately became a product called Random Riches, which had Random Riches has a lot more features than the original Point Pursuit does. It's got a great display on the game and some other things. But when when we started looking at this AI project, we said, how can we even take what Point Pursuit and Random Riches have done and allow us to do it at a much deeper scale? Like, think about hyper-personalization. So instead of segments of players at the very top end that casino hosts were doing, and then now with Point Pursuit and Random Riches, you could do maybe 100 different segments of players. Now with the AI version, what we're doing with TrueAim in this specific use case, we have the ability to go and offer every single player, if appropriate, right? I mean, you brought up responsible gaming, and I think that's a very cogent point, right? We've got to do these things in a very responsible way, but we have the capability to offer every single player a customized offer that makes sense for them based on their play style, their frequency, what we know and understand about them from the other things that they like. We could offer them rewards that are more centric to uh, their types of their types of offers that they like. Some might like free play. Like, that's the vast majority of people. They want that free slot play. But there may be some that want concert tickets, or they want a free meal. And by building this technology in this way and using AI to layer on top of, we're just able to do things better and hyper personalized that we've never been able to do before. So, for us, the first use case was one that just made sense to me. I mean, it's been a problem that casinos have been trying to solve for decades. How do I make sure I get the right offer in front of the right player while they're at the casino, right? Not trying to invite them back in, but while they're at the casino, how can I do that? And I think we finally are getting to a place in this industry where the underlying technology is capable of us delivering on that promise that, a casino host made to a player 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, as you say, you talk about hyper personalization, but in today's society, I mean, even if I'm thinking of myself or yourself, whatever we're doing, every customer has their own needs and wants to feel as though an offer is tailored to them. Because at the end of the day, in many other areas and in many other industries, and especially in entertainment sectors, they will be ultimately. So at a casino, they'll be looking for the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I suppose you mentioned scale. When it comes to AI, yeah, is that the main advantage here with TrueAim and something like that? Because if you were to try and manually look at every player in a huge casino where there might be 4,000 slot machines, as there often are, and a lot of them IGT slot machines as well across the US, it's just not possible. So is that kind of one of the central benefits here?
Yeah, I mean, if we just take a step back and look broadly at AI in general, like there's been all of this progress that's been made very recently, by really brilliant scientists across many different industries, right? I mean, you look at ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or all of the sort of leading providers of AI technologies, and what's really interesting about the advances is those tools, those technologies have a an ability to process data at a deeper level than ever before. And fundamental to that, right, is the fact that they need data in order to sort of bring this intelligence to the solutions that they're trying to solve, right? And, um, this is actually where I see something very, very unique in the casino industry. Generally, in the casino industry, all of that transactional level data that you have is proprietary. It's not something that you're going to ever find inside of a ChatGPT data store, right? And that's where I see that there's this really strong opportunity in the gaming industry because the technology is finally there to do this processing, to be able to go through this data and glean understandings about what's going on. Uh, but it's not broadly available for casino operators on their data. And that's where I think we're filling a very key gap is, we are one of the largest producers of this type of data that's out there around the globe. And if we have the ability to see and understand all of it and bring tools, there are so many business problems that we've wanted to solve for years and years as operators of casinos. We've never had the capability or the technology to do it. There just hasn't been the compute resources. There hasn't been the time, energy, and effort. And so hyper personalization is just one of the use cases that I see that's going to ultimately change the way we as operators, or the way that operators execute their businesses. And really, I think about as you look across the casino and all of the touch points that they have with their guests or have with their operations, whether that's risk management or whether that's responsible gaming or whether that's player interactions. There are so many use cases that they just can't execute because of scale, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's what this technology is really about. And I do think it will be, we're at the precipice now. We're sort of right at the beginning of this. Um, it will be a watershed moment for the industry when we start to unlock some of these capabilities and really allow them to solve some of their biggest business problems that they haven't been able to solve for years.
Yeah, really interesting. Really, you described the gap in the market really well, and how this potentially addresses that. Is it the case then that if the system is installed in, let's say, pick a random number of my head, 100 casinos, so the next 100 casinos that use that same system will benefit from the kind of the data and the decisions that was already on the other 100 because it's not new to the AI to TrueAim.
Right. I mean, you've nailed it, right? I mean, it's the more casinos that sign up to leverage this technology, the stronger and more powerful it gets, the more and more knowledge it has. And because a casino could do some of these things on their own, right? But the thing that they only have is they only have the data at their
Uh-huh.
casino. and you only have so many transactions, you only have so many guests, you only see so many behaviors. And as we know, like, the reason why you've seen these big leaps and bounds in ChatGPT and Claude and all of these other, great AI tools that are out there is because of the amount of data that they have, and the fact that it's not specific to one casino, or specific to one sort of point of view. And that's where I think that you need a provider like us that will allow us to bring in so many different operators into an ecosystem. Again, making sure that their, privacy is protected of the patrons that are using it, that the underlying data and the ownership of that data is still owned by the casinos, and that we're not creating situations where competitively we're moving players. We're not trying to make decisions about winners and losers in the operator space, right? What we're trying to do is democratize data in a way that allows all casinos to do better for their players and create better player experiences overall.
Yeah, again, really interesting, and I'm not just I'm kind of deliberately emphasizing interesting every time because it is, and I think the points you're making, I do remember discussing these kind of things a few years ago, but as you say, in the online space, and
Yep.
it was completely unheard of on the land base. So this kind of real time and tailoring offers. So yeah, this is a big step on the retail side. If I could talk to you about a couple of other potential areas. So in terms of measuring effectiveness and return on investment, how can TrueAim help here? Because often, traditionally, if you talk about as a bit of a random example, but if you're sponsoring a sports team, that's a little bit different because the ROI is difficult to actually gauge. Is it more precise in this kind of case?
Yeah, I mean, one of the keys for us as we thought about this development was ensuring that we built in business intelligence and telemetry into what was going on, because just generally, as you think about how operators think about using these tools and technologies, the core to them is like, is it effective? Am I getting a return on investment, or am I just paying a bunch of money for something that isn't generating an outcome? And for us, we started from a place of building telemetry in the very beginning, and looking at different places where we could track, you know, control groups. How does this player compare to that player? How does this model compare to that model? And the efficacy of an individual model, our goal is for it to improve over time, but we want to prove it. Like, it's something that we want to show that, we get, we did this offer to this player and we saw them respond to it and change their behavior. And here's what they look like before as a player in your ecosystem. Here's what they look like now, and do that not only on the individual level, but also in mass, and help operators really understand the impacts of these things. And if there are any tweaks that they need to make, maybe the latest model isn't as effective with their players and they want to use an older version. We've built in those capabilities from the beginning, because, ultimately, the only way that this type of platform is successful is if operators buy in. They have to believe that this is actually creating value for them and their players. And so for us, telemetry and real-time dashboards that help them understand what's going on in their business associated with how they're using these tools was imperative to build from the very beginning.
And how does it affect the player experience? Because the operator will know that's using the system, the TrueAim, IGT, and maybe staff. But is it a case that this AI and data is helping these offers come out in real time, but the player it's just exactly the same as it was for them before? As in, they won't necessarily know that there's a AI agent, making recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at least in this specific use case, right, the random riches use case, we wanted the player not to really inherently, like, directly know that this is an AI tool that's coming and putting this offer in front of them. I mean, hopefully indirectly they will, right? I mean, you said it before, right? If they have a tailored offer that means something to them, they're going to have a better experience,
Uh,
right? Because they're getting something that they want. And so, our goal with Random Rich's implementation of TrueAim was to make it seamless to the player where they didn't know. I will say there could be other use cases in the future, though, where they might be a little bit more cognizant of the fact that there is an AI helping them. So, for example, one of the things that we could build in the future is a technology that helps players find new games that they might be interested in based on the games that they've played in the past. And there could be an interaction module on one of the screens or in a mobile app or somewhere in the operator's overall experience that they provide to their players that helps recommend, hey, you've loved these types of games before. They just introduced a brand new slot theme, and we really think that you're going to like it. And that could be a recommendation from an AI, and it could be that that's the use case. But ultimately, I don't know that that's determined yet. And I think one of the things that we do in the way that we develop our products and the way that we think about things, we put the player at the center of it, and then we do a focus groups, we do testing, we get a really deep understanding of what that player wants and needs, and we test. And so maybe the AI will come to the forefront in the future, but at this point, I really think the right player experience is they're here to gamble. They're here to play the slot machines. They're here to have some entertainment and enjoy their time. We want to make that sort of very seamless to them and let them have their experience and just make it better.
That AI recommendation example you used does sound exciting. It has to be said. But that brings me to maybe a more less hypothetical question in terms of AI and TrueAim and everything that we're discussing. And as we mentioned, the scale and the more buy-in there is, the I guess exponentially the better the results for IGT and for the operators. So in terms of where it goes in the rest of IGT's portfolio and other use cases, how are we progressing and what plans are there as I guess as we're heading into 2026 as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of use cases that we've looked at, and really, the operators to us are the key. Like, what are their biggest business problems to solve? Because at the end of the day, they have to find value in these. What we've heard very broadly are, that game recommendation or some style of that, right? Whether it's where do I put a slot machine on my floor or how do I get a player to a slot machine that I've just put on my floor? That there is definitely something there. I mean, you've already touched on responsible gaming. That's while there are components of responsible gaming already built into the platform to ensure that we're not offering things that we should not be offering to players, but being even more uh, um, direct in the way that we think about responsible gaming. And, certain jurisdictions have laws or rules that will be able to, help bring this technology to bear on those. The other area that is from a player perspective isn't as great, but from an operator perspective is really important is fraud. There's lots of different types of fraud that happen in casinos: point theft, free play theft, manipulation of loyalty programs. So we're spending time, energy, and effort on those, and then of course we do think that the random riches use case from a bonusing perspective was a first step. We've got a number of other bonusing products in our suite, things like our intelligent offer product. We've also got mystery bonusing, and since we've already taken the first step with random riches to empower that, we'll very quickly sort of iterate on those other bonusing products that we have to ensure that across our suite of products we're bringing that AI intelligence, that TrueAim to those products.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, as a final area, really, I was gonna ask again where we could go, where AI could go even further within gaming. But I think we kind of combined it there, and everything we've talked about is not just relevant to IGT. Really, it's relevant to the whole industry. But I guess maybe for a final word, perhaps. This might put you on the spot a little bit, but I'm sure we've both talked a lot about AI this year.
Yep.
Obviously, your work on TrueAim. I would probably say 7 out of 10 at least of huddles today are impacted in some way by AI. Where would you say we are right now in terms of the potential of what AI could be doing for gaming, and how much of that is left? And I hope that's not too philosophical a question,
No, no,
but the
all
floor is
good.
yours.
Yeah, no, I really do think we're at the infancy. relative to the retail gaming space, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Interactive has had the jump on us for a number of years, just simply because of their data and the types of things that they can do. Um, but we're at the infancy for the retail side, and I think there are so many problems we could solve, and I think that it's incumbent upon us as a manufacturer of these technologies to work with our operator partners to ultimately deliver on a number of different things that improve the player experience and really up the game for what the entertainment experience that is retail gaming, right? There's lots and lots of different use cases that we could focus on, and selecting the right ones is going to be imperative. And look, one of the things that I've always said is you've got to fail fast. So we're not going to pick home runs with every single thing that we pick. But I do think that we've got to try a lot of different stuff, and see what really matters and really makes a difference to casino operators. I'm very excited about it. It's a really fun time to be in the gaming industry. There's a lot of change, and we're finally getting to the place where what we've talked about for the last 20 years in gaming is finally starting to be able to be deployed in this retail space, and it's really an exciting thing.
Yeah, fully agree. Really exciting times, and I think perhaps I mean, several great takeaway points, but I think perhaps the biggest conclusion that from what you said is that AI, and this might even been a bit of a surprise, theoretically a few years ago, is helping level the playing field between retail, land-based, and online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's something about that physical in-person experience that you cannot replicate online. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that if we are good stewards of that business, we're going to create some amazing experiences for players for years and years to come. So very excited.
Yeah. Likewise, and Jacob, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck for the final throws of 2025 and 2026 and everything at IGT and TrueAim that you're looking to achieve.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.